Before you scroll, listen closely, because what I'm about to share may sound ordinary, but it carries a message many people miss. There are things in your house you see every day and never think twice about, yet in the hands of faith, they begin to mean something deeper. Salt is one of those things, simple, quiet, common, but sometimes what looks small is carrying a greater purpose than we ever imagined. Stay with me, because this is not about superstition and it is not about empty ritual. It is about what happens when a physical act becomes a spiritual reminder, when a simple object in your hand turns your heart back toward peace, order, faith, and expectation. And if your home has felt heavy, if your mind has felt tired, if your finances have felt blocked, if you've been praying for movement but everything still feels stuck, then this message is for you. Watch to the end, because one small shift in your atmosphere can start a much larger shift in your life. Some people ignore little things and miss big change. Don't do that today. What if peace has been closer than you thought? What if the reset you need begins with something already sitting in your kitchen? Stay with me. This may open your eyes in a powerful way. My beloved friend, there are moments in life when heaven seems to whisper through the simplest things, not through something expensive, not through something rare, but through something ordinary that has been near you all along. Today, I want to talk to you about salt. Yes, salt. Something you cook with, something you sprinkle on food, something most people never stop to think about. But in the language of faith, salt carries meaning, deep meaning. It points to preservation, purity, covenant, and purpose. It reminds us that what appears common in the natural world can still hold spiritual value when placed in the hands of belief. Many people think prosperity is luck. They think abundance is random. They believe blessing only comes to a chosen few at the perfect time. But I tell you, it is not only about chance, it is also about alignment. It is about the condition of your heart, the atmosphere of your home, the words you speak, and the peace you allow to remain around you. Your life is always moving in the direction of what you repeatedly believe, speak, and prepare for. That is why your environment matters. That is why your words matter. That is why your habits matter. And that is why a simple act done with faith can become a turning point. Don't miss this. Small acts often reveal big truths. What you honor begins to shape you, and what you prepare with intention often becomes the ground where blessing begins to grow. Everything around you carries movement. The wind moves, water moves, light moves, your thoughts move, your words travel farther than you think. The atmosphere in a room changes with peace, and it also changes with fear. You can feel it without anyone saying a word. Walk into one space, and you feel calm. Walk into another, and something feels restless, crowded, tense. That is why you must stop treating your home like just walls and furniture. Your home is where your mind settles. It is where your heart exhales. It is where your spirit either finds rest or keeps fighting noise long after the day is over. When your house is filled with confusion, clutter, stress, and constant heaviness, it becomes harder to think clearly, harder to pray deeply, harder to expect good things. But when peace enters a space, something starts to open. Your breathing softens, your sleep becomes deeper, your mind becomes clearer, your hope begins to rise again. And when faith rises, your outlook changes. When your outlook changes, your actions follow. When your actions change, your life begins to shift. This is why simple symbols matter. Not because the object is magic, but because the act reminds your soul to come back into agreement with peace, order, and trust. Stay with me here, because this is where many people tune out and lose the point. The issue is not the salt by itself. The deeper issue is what happens when you stop living passively and start filling your home with prayer, intention, and expectation. For a very long time, salt has carried value. It preserved food. It protected what would otherwise spoil. It was precious in ancient days because it helped sustain life. And spiritually, that meaning still speaks. Salt points to what lasts. It points to what is kept from decay. It points to what is set apart. In sacred language, it became a symbol of lasting agreement, a reminder that some things are not meant to be temporary. Peace should not be temporary. Faith should not be temporary. Order should not be temporary. The blessing of God on a home should not be treated like a passing feeling that comes and goes with emotion. It should be welcomed, guarded, and honored. That is why this message matters, because some homes have become so used to stress that peace feels unusual. Some people have lived under financial pressure for so long that calm feels unfamiliar. But hear this clearly: lack is not your identity. Constant fear is not your portion. Heavy living is not the only way life can be. When a home is covered in prayer and filled with mindful action, the atmosphere begins to change. And when the atmosphere changes, people change with it. Their speech changes, their choices change, their focus changes, their hope comes alive again. Watch this part carefully because this is where the real shift begins. Sometimes you are not waiting for more effort. Sometimes you are waiting for a reset in your thinking, a reset in your room, a reset in the energy of the place where you wake up and where you go to sleep. If there is one place in your home that deserves special care, it is the place where you rest. The room where you sleep is not just another room. It is where your body restores itself. It is where the noise of the day finally settles. It is where your inner life absorbs more than you realize. You may close your eyes at night, but your deeper mind is still receiving signals. It notices clutter. It notices tension. It notices disorder. It notices whether the room feels calm or whether it feels crowded with unfinished weight. That is why some people sleep for hours and still wake up exhausted. Their body lay down, but their spirit never found peace. Your room should not be a place of chaos. It should not be loaded with distraction, noise, neglected mess, and restless energy. Keep it clean, keep it simple, keep it light. If something in that room constantly makes you feel heavy, deal with it. If clutter keeps building up, clear it. If your rest is being disturbed by endless stimulation, reduce it. Protect your atmosphere. This matters more than many people think. Because the quality of your peace affects the quality of your decisions, and the quality of your decisions affects the direction of your life. When your room becomes peaceful, your thinking becomes stronger. Your creativity begins to breathe again. Your mind becomes more prepared for ideas, solutions, wisdom, and direction. Don't click away now. This is practical and spiritual at the same time, and that is exactly why it can become powerful. Now, let me show you the simple act. Take a clean, clear glass, not something dirty, not something neglected. Let it be clean because this moment is about intention. Fill it most of the way with water, leaving a little space at the top. Then add 3 spoonfuls of salt slowly and carefully. As you do it, don't rush. Let the moment become deliberate. Stir it gently. Let your mind settle while your hand moves. And while you stir, speak life over your home. Speak peace over your room. Speak calm over your mind. Speak blessing over your future. Say that your home will not be ruled by fear. Say that confusion has no place there. Say that what is heavy must leave and what is pure may remain. Say that your life is coming back into order. Say that your heart is returning to trust. There is power in spoken faith because words shape atmosphere. They shape expectation. They train the heart to come into agreement with what is good, clean, and true. Then place that glass somewhere visible near your bed, on a table, on a nightstand, on a clean surface where it can remain as a quiet reminder, not hidden, not ignored. Let it stand there as a symbol that this room belongs to peace. Let it remind you each night and each morning that your home is not abandoned to disorder. It is under prayer. It is under watch. It is being brought back into alignment one intentional step at a time. And yes, keep watching because the deeper message here is even more important than the act itself. If the water becomes cloudy over time, do not panic. Simply see it as your moment to refresh the space again. Pour it out, release the old. Let that act become a prayer in motion. Then prepare a fresh glass and begin again. If it stays clear, let it remain for a few days and then renew it anyway. Why? Because peace must be maintained, order must be maintained. A calm atmosphere does not build itself and then stay strong forever without attention. Just like faith, it must be refreshed. Just like gratitude, it must be refreshed. Just like hope, it must be refreshed. This is not about fear. It is about stewardship. It is about becoming the kind of person who no longer allows the inner life and the home life to drift into neglect. Some people are waiting for a miracle while ignoring the atmosphere they live in every day. But often, the first sign of change is not loud. It is quiet. It is the room feeling lighter. It is your breathing slowing down. It is your thoughts becoming less scattered. It is a night of deeper sleep. It is a morning with less dread. It is a new idea arriving without strain. It is a sudden strength to handle what once overwhelmed you. Don't underestimate those moments. That is often how larger breakthroughs begin. One peaceful night, one clear thought, one wise decision, one open door, one restored sense of direction. If this is speaking to you, keep listening because the next part is where the heart of the message becomes even stronger. Your prosperity is deeply connected to your peace, not because money appears by wishing for it, but because a peaceful person can think, discern, build, and respond more clearly than a restless one. When your mind is full of anxiety, even good opportunities can pass by unnoticed. When your heart is constantly heavy, even clear direction can feel foggy. But when your inner world settles, you start to notice what you missed before. You listen better. You choose better. You move with more wisdom. You waste less energy. You begin to make room for discipline, for vision, for steady action, and for faith that lasts longer than a passing emotion. This is why the atmosphere of your home matters more than people realize. A peaceful home supports a focused mind. A focused mind supports fruitful work. Fruitful work supports provision. And provision handled with wisdom creates stability. So, yes, blessing can touch finances, but it often begins by touching the soul first. It begins by clearing the noise that has been stealing your strength. It begins by breaking the agreement with fear. It begins by teaching you to live from peace rather than panic. That is why this message is not small. It may begin with salt and water, but it reaches into the deeper places of daily life, into how you wake up, into how you think, into how you speak to yourself, into how you prepare your space, into how you expect good again. And if you are still here, let me say this clearly. Do not dismiss simple obedience. Big changes often begin with quiet acts repeated with real faith. There was once a story of bitter water being made whole through a simple act involving salt, and the message still speaks today. What was damaged did not stay damaged. What was bitter did not have to remain bitter. What was troubled was not beyond restoration. That is a word for someone listening right now. Just because an area of your life has felt dry does not mean it must stay dry. Just because your finances have felt strained does not mean your future is closed. Just because your home has carried tension does not mean peace cannot return. Sometimes the act itself is simple, but the meaning behind it is strong. I refuse to let this place remain under heaviness. I refuse to let this season define the rest of my life. I refuse to keep living in silent disorder while hoping for visible blessing. That is the shift. That is the deeper power. You begin to act like peace belongs in your home. You begin to prepare as if clarity is coming. You begin to speak as if restoration is possible. And step by step, your heart starts believing again. Your room starts feeling different. Your mornings start feeling cleaner. Your mind starts becoming sharper. Your prayers start feeling more direct. This is not about chasing strange ideas. It is about reclaiming sacred simplicity, a clean room, a prayerful heart, a visible reminder, a spoken declaration, a repeated act of faith. Don't miss how powerful consistency can become when it is joined with expectation. And let me add this because it matters. While you prepare your room, also prepare your habits. Peace in the atmosphere should be matched by peace in your routines. Guard what enters your mind before sleep. Be careful what you watch, what you replay, what you dwell on in the late hours when your heart is most impressionable. Turn down the noise. Step away from constant agitation. Make your room a place where your soul can breathe again. Before you sleep, speak gratitude out loud, even if the day was hard. Thank God for what is still standing. Thank God for what is still possible. Thank God for strength, for breath, for wisdom, for covering, for another morning on the way. Then, as you lie down, release what you cannot control. Release the fear of tomorrow. Release the pressure to carry everything at once. Release the hidden panic that has been sitting quietly in your chest. You do not need to sleep with the whole world on your shoulders. Let the night become a holy reset. Let the room become a place of recovery. Let the simple glass beside your bed remind you that peace is being invited back in and heaviness is being shown the door. This extra step matters because outward symbols become stronger when the inward posture matches them. If your heart is cynical, the act stays shallow. But if your heart is open, intentional, and watchful, even a simple practice can become a doorway to deeper rest, stronger focus, and renewed expectation. Stay with me. We're building something here, and it's bigger than it first appears. As the days go on, pay attention to what changes. Maybe the first sign will not be financial at all. Maybe it will be emotional. Maybe you will notice the room feels calmer. Maybe you will sleep without that same restless tossing. Maybe you will wake up with more energy, more clarity, more willingness to face the day. Maybe your thoughts will stop racing so hard. Maybe a conversation in your home will feel softer. Maybe a burden that felt huge will start to feel manageable. These are not small things. These are signs that order is returning. And once order begins to return, so does momentum. You start finishing what you kept delaying. You start seeing solutions where you once saw walls. You start noticing opportunities that had been hidden behind your exhaustion. You become more present, more aware, more able to act with wisdom instead of reacting with fear. That is how many breakthroughs begin quietly, gradually. Then suddenly, what began as peace becomes progress. What began as prayer becomes confidence. What began as a restored room becomes a restored rhythm of life. And yes, sometimes provision starts showing up too, a needed opportunity, a timely idea, a connection, a favor, an opening, a relief. But even before those things fully arrive, your inner life begins to strengthen. And that matters because sustained blessing is best carried by a stable soul. If you want the outside of life to change, do not ignore the inside. If you want your future to shift, do not neglect the atmosphere where your faith must grow. So tonight or whenever you are ready, take the step. Clean the room, slow your breathing, prepare the glass, add the salt, stir with intention. Speak peace, speak blessing, speak release. Place it near your bed and let that act mark a new agreement in your heart. No more surrendering your home to heaviness. No more letting fear set the tone. No more accepting restlessness as normal. Let your room become a place of stillness. Let your home become a place where gratitude lives. Let your life become a place where hope has room to return. And as you do this, believe for more than a passing feeling. Believe for restored peace. Believe for clearer thinking. Believe for renewed strength. Believe for wisdom in your work. Believe for healing in your atmosphere. Believe for open doors that once looked shut. Believe that the same God who brings order out of chaos can bring calm where confusion has lived and can bring provision where there has been pressure. Receive this with faith. What has felt blocked can begin to move. What has felt dry can begin to open. What has felt heavy can begin to lift. Stay expectant. Stay prayerful. Stay consistent. Sometimes the smallest faithful act becomes the beginning of the strongest new season. And when peace finally settles in your home, do not be surprised if blessing begins to find its way there too.